Hi, I'm Jerry Hyde, Youth Services Manager at the Ames Public Library. Welcome to Well Read, a program about a little bit of this and a little bit of that at the Ames Public Library. And today is a fun day. We're going to explore some of the 5 practices that we empower families to use at the Ames Public Library. And what are those 5 practices, you ask? Well, they kind of stem from the early literacy skills of print motivation, print awareness, letter knowledge, narrative skills, vocabulary, and phonological awareness. And from that initiative in 2004 came out in 2008, 2009, an initiative to make this more user-friendly for our parents and our families to understand how they're empowering their child to learn how to read, not to teach them how to read, but to give them their skills to do that. And you know, it's really amazing that it's all about things that we do naturally with our children. And as a young mom, I'm sure you can attest to that. So today, the first of 5 series that we're doing is on writing. And I have Bree, our Youth Services Librarian here at the Ames Public Library. Welcome.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming today. You have some really neat goodies here. So where would you like to start about writing? The first...
so the 5 practices they introduced very recently within the last year or so to try to simplify this, like you said, and it's read, write, talk, sing, and play. So we're going to talk about the write today. And all of them are super simple things to do as parents with your children. And we're not trying to teach kids how to read. Nope. We're not trying to get them at a point where they are already ahead when they get to school. We're trying to lay the foundation for parents and for kids to know that what learning is, and so they have those basic building blocks so that when they get to school, they can absorb all that knowledge and just jump right into it. And writing is a big part of that. And all of the practices, the 5, they're so interchangeable. And they're not, I mean, we're going to talk about them individually, but they really just meld together so much.
They're not independent of each other.
No.
And they're not independent of the 6 other
Absolutely
literacy
not.
skills either.
Yeah.
They all go
These are
together.
what you need to be ready for school.
Right.
And you can do that by writing and talking and singing and things. And lots of times people think, well, you learn to read and then you learn to write, and that's absolutely not the case. You learn to read and write at the same time. Kids are very much active participants in their learning, and by physically writing and physically using things and building those muscles in their hand, they're learning to read. And so there's 2 parts of write. One is the cognitive part. So identifying letters, identifying that letters go together to make sounds, to make words. That's all stuff they have to think about in their mind. The other part is the physical part. Can they hold a pencil or a crayon? And can they make letters on the page and translate that and then make words and stuff? So, I mean, those are far things. When they start out, it's can they identify letters, letter knowledge, very much, and your shapes and your colors and things like that. And then can they scribble? Can they just take something and just scribble on the page? Scribbling is writing. It's very exciting because kids can own that. They can see what they've done and they get excited about that. And it's
there's
very
a cause
cool.
and effect of that. We take a crayon or iPads or whatever it is in today's world and put those things together.
Yes.
And you talked about the muscles and stuff in their hands, and I think that's a very important part that much of what we do today has taken away the part of using our hands. And I see you have Playdough.
Yes, huge thing to build the muscles in hands. So kids can hold a pencil, and in school they'll have to hold that pencil to write a significant part of the day. So to make sure that they're ready for that, that also builds their fine motor skills, because if they have more muscles, they have more muscle control, and so they can control their pencil and stuff. Play-Doh is a wonderful thing for that. It is amazing how hard it is to squeeze Play-Doh. And building that strength, which is a very cool thing for kids to do, is squeeze and get the ooey gooey Play-Doh and stuff in their hands. Is a big thing. That's a huge thing for building those muscles. Plus, manipulating the Play-Doh is a big thing too. You can learn in all kinds of ways. I mean, rolling the Play-Doh out into long snake-like things. form those snakes into letters.
Amazing.
Like, hey, you can learn and do things at the same time. But it also doesn't have to be as didactic as that either. I mean, just the physical act of playing with Play-Doh, let's see what kind of things we can make with
And
it.
shapes.
What kind of creatures can you make? What kind of shapes? Do you use cookie cutters to push out the shapes? I mean, all of those things are building.
And again, the shapes and
Yes.
rolling that ball out, all those things relate to the letter shapes
Yep.
as well. So
Yep.
identifying those shapes and those squares and all those things are important for writing those letters out. And
Yeah.
so actually, making and forming those snake-like things into circles or whatever in all those different ways are very, very important in creative. I also want to just kind of do an add-on that, we're not really promoting Play-Doh, the
Company, the brand
Play-Doh.
of Play-Doh.
You can make Play-Doh at home. You can buy other brands of Play-Doh. It's that manipulation
Yes.
of the squeezing things together and forming those shapes. But I also want to add a little bit to that too, is because we have so many finger foods like hamburgers
Yes.
and fast foods and stuff, and we don't use that silverware,
Yeah.
the spoon and the fork as
Yep.
much as we did. That is something that you can do as a parent too, is to help their fingers, is to have soup one night and just make them use or on a regular basis. So they have to use those utensils.
Or if
'cause
you're
that
eating peas are really hard, like to scoop up and
And hold on
and
and
hold
that-
on to and not dump them and
Yeah.
stuff. And you
Yeah.
really just want to grab them with but like encouraging that silverware use
Right.
is a good thing.
And
And it balance and the hand-mouth coordination and all
very
kinds of
much
things.
so. And that's one thing that, simple as eating. You don't have to make a separate time to do this.
Yes.
You can do this along the way in your day-to-day activities.
Yes.
So you also have something that looks very scrumptious over there.
We'll see. And I'll let you hold this
Okay.
one. So there's a couple ways of doing this. My daughter,
Sorry.
I have a 2-year-old at home right now, and we were having a blast with this last night, and I'm definitely going to have to keep it out and do it again. So there's a couple different ways that at the library we like to do this in craft time, and that we encourage parents to do it at home. One thing is to take a tray, like the cookie sheet, and put some shaving cream on it. Just let the kids mess around with it.
No, I won't.
Let the kids mess around with it. Shaving cream is very easy to wash off. If you put it on a tray, it's not going to get all over, hopefully, not all over your table and stuff like that. And it kind of contains it, but it gives them a workspace to be able to, and a pretty big one. They can draw pictures on it, letters, anything they want. Get creative with it. So
their high chair too.
yes,
would
the
be
trays of their high chair.
their trays of-
Perfect.
yep.
Yes, absolutely. Easy to take off, wash, and you're good to go. But it's such a tactical learning experience for them to feel that and to make the designs in it and stuff.
And I also know that when we did the shaving cream on our tables at the library before we moved here,
Yes.
when we had craft times, that it also cleaned your tables.
Yes.
Very nice.
Shaving cream is a wonderful,
Wonderful
thing for
tool.
that. It's also good to clean stuffed animals with. If your stuffed animals get dirty,
Oh.
shaving cream cleans them very well.
Interesting.
Anyway,
I've never thought
multiple
about that.
uses.
Yeah, multiple.
So some people worry though about eating because little hands like to put things in their mouth. So an alternative to shaving cream, chocolate pudding.
Chocolate pudding.
Which is wonderful. And so I just put some chocolate pudding for sake of cleanup here in a little baggie, and it's much easier when it's laying flat on a surface to be able to draw letters in and to color in and stuff like that. But tracing things, trying to figure out, honestly, just mushing things around like that, it's really easy to just erase and start over and do some more. I would recommend a sturdy plastic bag because they will get pretty rough with it, but a great way of just making learning fun. I mean, what kid doesn't like to squish and squeeze and
then we
draw
can
and manipulate?
cut the little corner and have
and then
a
have
pudding.
a snack. Yes.
In an easy, inexpensive way
Very
to make
inexpensive.
food fun as well as learning things along the way. And again, not a separate thing that you have to do. It can be.
Lots of people have pudding at their house, so if you're making dinner, put them in their high chair, throw some pudding on let them go and have fun. So they're going to get dirty eating anyways, so they might as well start it with something fun.
Something
So,
fun. Yeah. No, that sounds I want to be a little baby. And that's a good point too. You know, anyone sitting up can start doing that on their own, and encouraging that play. And then I'm sure you're probably going to get to this too, but talking about being able to, you know, what are you doing? And even if they're not expressing words, having that conversation, that lull, letting them talk back to you, or describing, as an adult, describing what they're doing, or
especially when kids are like coloring on sheets of paper or something like that. If they're coloring, oh, what are you coloring? What are you drawing? You know, ask them questions about it. But then a great thing for parents to do, oh, this is a dinosaur? Great, I'm going to write dinosaur on the bottom of the piece of paper. And writing those letters, and so they associate that word and those letters to what they're drawing, is a huge part of getting. And like you see, I mean, kids see books and they see pictures with words on it. The fact that mom wrote those words on their picture, I mean, that's a book.
Yeah, she's an
cool.
author.
This could be a page in a book,
right.
you know? I mean, there's ownership there, and that's very cool to tie those things together.
And that tie-in to the written, those little black lines or whatever color the letters and stuff are very, very important too, because like the 3 to 5 year olds and stuff, I think it's like 95% of the time they're only looking at the pictures. They're not looking at those words. So making that connection is a learned skill.
It is.
And it's part of
And it'll come. Like the more you read, the more they see that. And the more you read the same book over and over again, the more that they know the pictures then, and they start concentrating on other things, and those words can tie in.
It's so exciting to watch that happen, and to have that realization when your child actually does that.
Look.
You know, and they like, oh wow, how, and it just starts one day. I mean, you build up to that, and then they just like, oh, okay, they're doing it.
Yeah,
and
that's amazing, because that's the gratification of, I've read this book 100 times. I am so tired of this book, but the day that they start reading it back to you and pointing to those things, totally worth it.
And
totally
you have to keep remembering that.
Yes, when you hit the 75th time of reading the book,
and you're going, mine was the pokey little puppy went for a walk. It's like, okay, how many times can that dog make take a walk? But
so we've talked a lot about the manipulation and some fun things to do, but there's also, this is physical writing, and in a physical world, there's also digital writing as well.
Lots of fun things are happening out there.
Lots of pros and cons for the digital thing, especially with young children, that argument out there, screen time for kids and stuff like that. But the digital world is out there. Let's figure out a way of teaching kids the best uses for it. There are some wonderful apps out there for kids, and writing in the digital world is not typing on a computer. Writing is app. How are you writing with your finger and writing and stuff through apps and stuff like that? So we do have a couple cool apps. And
let me get my iPad on, and we'll go to the apps that I have. Oh, and you have one too.
Oh, yes.
So, Trace the A.
Yeah, so this is just one that is very super simple for those introductory kids to figure out how the A's work. And you don't have to be super, if it wants to go here, super accurate on it either, which is great. And there's the A, and then it moves on to B. And you just go through the alphabet, which is really good.
And I see that there's a picture there too that you as a parent can help talk about B and talk about the sound. So this isn't an independent thing that you're going to hand the iPad to your child and say, go for it.
Yes, no, this is not entertainment.
It's an interactive.
This is, when you're there with Play-Doh, you don't just sit them and let them go. You will have Play-Doh everywhere, and they're not going to get out of it what you think, what they need to be getting out of it. You sit there and you work with it with them. This is exactly the same way. You sit here and you work with it together, and you do that because they're learning as much from you talking to them and having that conversation than they are from the app. They're learning way more from the conversation that you have with them, but they're reinforcing it with the physical motions that they're doing here.
So one of the things that my little key or point that I would like to make is that, so when because these are also on your smartphones, you can get the apps on the smartphone. So instead of looking at your Facebook page as a parent, or talking or texting, bring up one of these apps when you're sitting in the car or you're sitting somewhere waiting in the waiting room, and interact with your child with the device, whatever that might be, your smartphone or the iPad, and interact with your child and engage them in that conversation and engage them in the tool that you're using, not talking on it. Sorry, talking on it or texting on it, interact, and instead of, doing it independently and letting your child, necessary. And that doesn't mean that they're going to stay there in your lap for a half an hour or anything. It just is a nice way to engage and let them see that tool is not just for Facebooking or that entertainment in that way. So that's a very important thing. There are studies going on right now where they're observing parents and people using their phone and instead of like sitting in there's a study that I just read about that they observed parents engaging or not engaging with their child in a fast food place eating dinner. How long a parent or an adult is on a phone and not paying attention while the child is eating or having conversations, so that conversation time is even lessening. And the results was amazing.
Staggering.
As far it was like, you got to be kidding me, and there are correlations between parents that are engaging and behavior of children as well. So it's all important, and you may not think it is, but you may not think it's an innocent phone call or an innocent text messaging, but we see it a lot, that all over. So what else do you have here?
Well, did you want to talk about that?
We have. That's very good. Thank you for bringing that up. The Ames Public Library also has a Pinterest site, and we have various boards on there, and one of those are apps for your child. And some of them are paid apps, and some of them are free apps as well. And then places that you can go to find references on what is a good app, what isn't a good app, and trying to, the one that you showed is a free app that you can put on your phone. This one happens to be a very similar one, the one with the R. It is a paid app that you can go out on, and it's a little railroad track, or it's got flowers, very similar to the one that you had. But you do have to download it and pay.
So it's also a good thing to mention, is because the world of apps is still so new, and reviewing them and stuff, that if you're interested in something, try the free version of it, if there is one. Oftentimes you can download the app notification apps, an app for app notifications, and it'll let you know weekly or daily, however you set it up, when apps go free. So if you're interested in kids apps, you can sign up for that, and then as kids apps go free from these places, it'll let you know, so you can go in and download them when they're free, as opposed to, or when they drop in price and stuff, because most of the world in apps, the people who are creating them, if they pay, at some point or another they will drop that to go free, because they want more people to download them and use them, because that's how you pass it on, and that's how you advertise right now and stuff. So there are places, and if you're willing to be a little patient, you can most likely get some things for free.
So that's on our Ames Public Library Pinterest site. So if you are a pinner or a Pinterest person, just go and search for the Ames Public Library. It comes right up, and follow us, and you'll be able to see some of those. There's some awesome things going on out there, and it is a reality. And like you said, when you mentioned that there's controversy about the screen time versus, this is an interactive screen time. It's not a passive learning. It's interactive, and that's why it's important for you just not to hand that that phone or the iPad out to your child and let them go. I've got a couple, and sometimes you have a lot of different things, different ages and stages of them, and it's fun to play.
It's fun to play.
I do have grandchildren, but I was doing this all by myself. So it's like, so this one is Help Kids Learn, and it has finger paint. And so you can have play the music or have it quiet. So I had it quiet. But it also tells you that because you are drawing with one singular finger, to get out of it, you have to use the two fingers. So it, explains that for us parents or us adults that don't know how to do these things. But if you have, young ones, they'll show you how to do it. But the bubbles here on the side are different colors, and so you can tap that and come out here and finger paint.
Nice.
It's so fun. And then you tap it and you go back and clear the drawing. But you can also a lot of them have the pictures. Or take the camera, so you can take a picture of it, just like
of the kid, and then they can color and make a hat on themselves.
Well, no.
Oh.
Well, no, of what you've created. So
it'll capture.
Yeah, so I can go back here and take a picture, save it, and so then you have your thing up on the refrigerator that like the paper version that's important to us older people.
Nice. You can go back and look at it.
And so you can go back and look at it and show your creation or send it to Grandma and Grandpa's or, and write a letter, which is also very important, that, modeling that behavior as well. And then having your child sit down and write a letter. And that doesn't mean that it's like we write letters, it's a picture or their scribbles or magic is what somebody...
Even simple things like their birthday presents or Christmas presents or something, and writing a thank you note to Grandma and Grandpa or somebody for those things. Writing notes and writing letters is, I don't want to say it's a dying art, but like it doesn't, with email and stuff, it doesn't happen as often. And so teaching kids about it's awesome and very fun to get things in the mail. And so it's an act of kindness, but it's also shows them that you're appreciating it. But they can color a picture, or they can write thank you, and mom and dad can fill in the rest if they can't write a whole thing. That's totally fine, whatever works.
And that act of the child talking to the parent and the parent or the adult and writing it down, showing the child and modeling that behavior can, or the child, like you mentioned earlier, drawing the picture and the child telling the parent what that was. And it is a fascinating, when my oldest granddaughter went to school for the first time, I went to a parent in kindergarten, and they talked about, the teachers did a slideshow of what their writing was going to be like. So there are identifiable squiggles that mean certain things, and every child has those and develops those, and they go through phases, and they eventually then write letters, and it was just fascinating to me because I had not ever really gone through that type of thing. So but what parents are doing, or daycare providers, or our adults that we're talking about doing, are just empowering them with those skills that they will need.
Just giving them the tools to be able to explore and learn, and
and that is such an important thing to do for their creative play and all of that, to become authors themselves. And
sidewalk chalk. You want to get outside and do some things. When it becomes springtime. And
when will that happen?
Sidewalk chalk is a great thing too. It's big, so little hands can grasp it, and you can do all kinds of things out there, and draw in different colors and stuff like that, and it's super cheap. It's not an expensive thing that you have to have.
And you can also make that from scratch as well.
You can,
homemade sidewalk chalk. So, and we have all those recipes in all our books that we have in our nonfiction section, with all that, and we have books that will explain some of these as well in our parenting collection. So there's lots of opportunities, as you know, at your Ames Public Library, to find out about things you can help your child or empower your child, your preschooler, your toddler, your baby, infant, and there are varying stages with all of those. So we go from sitting in the lap, interacting with them, to them becoming more and more independent and doing some of those skills by themselves. But all of that, even when they're older, that conversation that you keep having with your child along the way is very, very important in their learning experiences. So moms and dads are their first teachers, and they're continual teachers throughout their lifetime. So it's a very important job that our parents are doing with our children, creating the future for us as well. So that's just one skill, one practice of writing. There will be 4 successive stories or shows after this. So tune in for playing and
reading
and singing and talking. We've done a lot of talking today.
Yeah.
So like you said, it all goes together.
It all ties together.
But today was writing, and so write with your child today and have some fun with them. So squiggle together, write together, and then of course come to the library as well. So until next time, thank you for visiting us.